I was having my morning coffee when my phone rang, Mom and Dad calling again. I almost didn't answer, but then I remembered their anniversary was coming up in a month. "Hey Mom," I said, trying to sound cheerful. "Lillian, your father and I were just talking about the anniversary party. You're still coming, right?" "Of course I am, I wouldn't miss your 35th for anything." I took another sip of coffee. I lived on the opposite coast from my parents, which meant I rarely saw them or my older siblings, Donna and Richard. This party would be the first time in months we'd all be together. "Wonderful, now, your father and I have been discussing what gifts we'd like." Mom's voice had that eager tone she gets when she's excited about something. I wasn't surprised, my parents were never shy about telling us exactly what they wanted. "Well, we've decided that since your father retired early last year, and I'm only working part-time now, we want to travel, see the country. So we want you to buy us a motorhome." I literally spit my coffee across the kitchen counter. "I'm sorry, what?" "A motorhome, dear, you know, one of those big RVs people drive around in." "Mom, those cost like $60,000 or $70,000, I was already mentally calculating how much that would drain my savings. "Well, you've always been so good with money, honey." I laughed, thinking she must be joking. "You're crazy. What are Donna and Richard giving you?" "Oh, Donna already gave us a robot vacuum cleaner. And Richard is getting us a new TV, a big one." I laughed again, harder this time. "So Donna gets you a vacuum, Richard gets you a TV, and I'm supposed to buy you a house on wheels?" "Mom, that's insane." "Don't be dramatic, Lillian. Look, maybe if we split it 3 ways, me, Donna, and Richard, we could consider it. But there's no way I can afford that on my own." Mom's voice turned cold. "Your sister has 2 children to support, and Richard doesn't make nearly what you do. You're single with no kids, Lillian, you can afford this." That stung. Just because I'm not married with kids doesn't mean I don't have financial obligations and plans of my own. "What if you sold the country house?" I suggested. "You guys barely use it anymore." "We're not selling it," Mom said firmly, "we've already promised to give it to Donna." "You make plenty of money, Lillian. If you don't have enough savings, just take out a loan." "Are you serious right now? I'm not going into debt to buy you a luxury vehicle." "I see," Mom's voice went icy. "Well, your father and I understand completely. I think we're done with this conversation." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there, staring at my phone in disbelief. The country house, the one I'd been making mortgage payments on for nearly a decade because my parents couldn't afford it. And they were giving it to Donna, just like that? I didn't call back. What was the point? It was clear my family had it all figured out. Lillian the cash cow. Lillian the reliable one. Lillian who would always say yes. Not this time. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Mom. "Your father and I have decided not to invite you to our anniversary celebration." I read it 3 times, unable to believe what I was seeing. They were uninviting me because I wouldn't buy them an RV? Was this real life? I sat on the edge of my bed, my head spinning. How much had I done for them over the years? Not just the country house mortgage, which was substantial, but the mortgage on their new house too. For the past couple of years, I'd been helping with both. Plus Richard's car insurance and dental work this year. And covering half of Donna's rent for the last 6 months. And my niece's dance lessons. When did I become the family bank? And how could one completely reasonable no, erase all of that? An hour later, my phone pinged again. A text from Donna. "I never thought you'd be so cruel to Mom and Dad, how could you?" I didn't respond. What was there to say? That I was tired of being everyone's ATM? That maybe, just once, I wanted to be appreciated for something other than my checkbook. I decided to let it go, not think about it, focus on work, they'd get over it. But a week later, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw it, Mom's post about their upcoming anniversary, celebrating 35 years with the love of my life. Thought we'd share some of our favorite family moments. She'd posted a bunch of old family photos. In every single one, my face and body had been scribbled out with what looked like a black marker. I stared at the screen, unable to process what I was seeing. The comments were already flooding in. What happened to Lillian? Is everything okay? Why is Lillian blacked out? Mom's response made my blood boil. Lillian has betrayed us. She says she doesn't need us anymore and doesn't consider us family. We're heartbroken that our daughter turned out to be so greedy, selfish, and ungrateful. She is officially uninvited from our anniversary celebration and will not be welcome at our party. Within minutes, my phone exploded with messages from relatives and family friends. What did you do? How could you treat your parents this way? You should be ashamed of yourself. I sat in my apartment for hours, staring at the wall. The messages kept coming in. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, my dad's sister, even Mom's book club friends. All of them asking what kind of monster I was to abandon my family. I couldn't bring myself to respond to any of them. What was the point? Mom had already crafted her narrative. I was the villain in her story now. After a while, I wiped my tears away and took a deep breath. I needed to understand exactly what was happening here. I grabbed my laptop and logged into my banking app. Let's see how much I've actually given them, I muttered to myself as I started filtering transactions. The mortgage payments for the country house jumped out immediately. 10 years of payments at $1,850 per month, over $220,000 total. Then there was the second mortgage, the one for their new house. I'd been helping with that for 2 years now, another $44,400. Richard's car insurance this year, $2,200. His dental work when he chipped his tooth and needed a crown, $3,500. Donna's rent assistance for the past 6 months, $7,800. My niece's dance lessons, $175 per month per child for the past 3 years. That was another $12,600. I kept scrolling, adding more items to my list. Birthday gifts, Christmas presents, that time Dad's car broke down, the emergency plumbing repair at the country house. The total made me feel sick, over $300,000 in the past decade alone. How could they so easily erase me from the family after everything I'd done for them? All because I wouldn't buy them a damn motorhome? My phone buzzed again. Another message from a distant cousin. Your parents have done so much for you, how can you be so heartless? Something snapped inside me. I was done being the family ATM, done being taken for granted, done being manipulated. An idea started forming in my mind. If they wanted to make a public spectacle of disowning me, then maybe I needed to make a public statement of my own. I pulled up the website for the restaurant where they were holding their anniversary party. Lucky for me, they still had tables available for that evening. I booked one in the corner, where I could see everything but wouldn't be easily spotted. Then I opened a new document on my laptop and started writing a letter. I detailed every payment I'd made, every bill I'd covered, every time I'd bailed them out financially. I attached screenshots from my banking records as proof. At the bottom of the letter, I took a red marker and crossed out all the amounts. In big, bold letters, I wrote, "No more help." I printed 30 copies, one for each guest I estimated would be at the party. I folded them neatly and placed them in a large, fancy gift box with a big bow on top. The next 2 weeks dragged by. I booked a flight and a hotel room near my parents' house. I blocked my family's numbers so they couldn't reach me. I needed space to think, to process, to prepare. The day of the anniversary arrived. I checked into my hotel room early and spent the afternoon getting ready. I chose a dress I knew my mother would hate, too short, too tight, too bright. If I was going to crash this party, I might as well look good doing it. I arrived at the restaurant an hour before my parents' reservation time. The manager seemed confused by my request to keep the lights dimmed in my corner, but an extra $50 solved that problem. I settled in with a glass of the most expensive champagne on the menu. If this was going to be my last interaction with my family, I might as well treat myself. "Bring me the chef's special," I told the waiter, "and keep the champagne coming." From my strategic position, I could see the entrance perfectly. My pulse quickened when my parents walked in, arm in arm, looking happy and oblivious. Behind them trailed Donna and her husband with their 2 kids, then Richard and his girlfriend. More guests arrived, aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors. Even Mom's hairdresser was there. The table grew crowded with people who apparently deserved to be at this celebration more than I did. I slouched lower in my seat, nursing my champagne. The waiter brought my food, some fancy fish dish with a sauce I couldn't pronounce. I barely tasted it. About 30 minutes into their celebration, I saw the courier I'd hired enter the restaurant. He carried my gift box directly to my parents' table. "Excuse me," the courier said loudly enough for me to hear, "special delivery for the anniversary couple." Mom grabbed the box eagerly. "Oh, how lovely," she exclaimed, untying the ribbon with a flourish. I held my breath as she lifted the lid and peered inside. Her expression changed instantly from delight to confusion to rage. "What is this?" she shrieked, pulling out the papers. Dad leaned over to look, his face went pale. Mom dumped the contents of the box onto the table. Guests around them began picking up the papers, reading them with increasingly shocked expressions. "Lillian paid for your house?" I heard someone ask. "And Richard's dental work," said another voice. My aunt, Dad's sister, stood up. "Why did you tell everyone Lillian never helped you? These bank statements show she's been supporting you for years." Mom's face turned bright red. "That doesn't matter now," she snapped. Dad stood up abruptly. "I think the party's over, folks, sorry about this." Most of the guests looked uncomfortable. Some made excuses and left quickly. Others, like vultures, stayed behind pretending to comfort my parents while continuing to enjoy the free food and drinks. I sipped my champagne and discreetly took a few photos with my phone, evidence of the chaos I'd created. "More champagne, ma'am?" the waiter asked. "Absolutely," I replied, "I'm celebrating too." I stayed at the restaurant until my parents and the remaining guests left. The satisfaction I felt was almost worth the years of financial drain, almost. After paying my bill, the most expensive meal I'd ever bought myself, I headed back to my hotel. I'd already booked a red-eye flight home. No point sticking around now that I'd made my statement. In the taxi, I scrolled through the photos I'd taken. Mom's face when she opened the box, Dad's stunned expression, the relatives passing my financial statements around the table. I couldn't help but smile. It was petty, I knew that, but it felt good to finally stand up for myself. Back at the hotel, I packed quickly and checked out. The flight home was uneventful. I turned off my phone before boarding and didn't turn it back on until I was safely in my apartment the next day. When I finally powered up my phone, the notification bar exploded. 73 missed calls, dozens of text messages, voicemails, emails. I scrolled through them without listening or reading. Mom, Dad, Donna, Richard, Aunt Carol, Uncle Steve, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Part of me wanted to delete them all without even looking. But a smaller, pettier part of me wanted them to know I'd seen them squirm. That I'd witnessed their embarrassment firsthand. I selected the photos I'd taken at the restaurant and sent them to my parents, Donna, and Richard. No message, just the images, let them figure it out. The responses came almost immediately. "Mom, how dare you? You've humiliated us in front of everyone we know. Is that what you wanted? Donna, you're a monster, the actual worst person on the planet, I hope you're happy now." Richard didn't respond, which was typical. He always let the women in the family fight his battles. Dad sent a single text, "We need to talk." I didn't reply to any of them. What was there to say? They'd made their feelings clear. I'd made mine clear. We were done. The next few weeks were surprisingly peaceful. I threw myself into work, started going to the gym regularly, reconnected with friends I'd been neglecting. It was amazing how much free time and mental energy I had when I wasn't constantly worrying about my family's financial problems. "You seem different," my friend Jess said over coffee one Saturday, more relaxed. I smiled. "I've made some changes recently." I didn't tell her about the fallout with my family. It was still too raw, too complicated to explain. How do you tell someone that your entire family only valued you for your bank account? That the moment you said no to one ridiculous request, they erased you from their lives? 2 months passed without a word from any of them. I began to think maybe it was really over. Maybe we'd all just go our separate ways now. Part of me was sad about that, but mostly I felt relieved. Free. Then the email arrived, subject line, urgent, please help. It was from my parents' shared email account, but I recognized Mom's writing style immediately. Lillian, we hope this message finds you well. We're writing because we're in a difficult situation. Since your father's early retirement, and with me only working part-time, we've fallen behind on our mortgage payments. The bank is threatening foreclosure within the month if we don't catch up. We know things have been strained between us, but we're still your parents. We raised you, put you through college, and have always been there for you. Now we need your help. Please call us as soon as you get this. Love, Mom and Dad. I read it 3 times, my blood pressure rising with each pass. No apology, no acknowledgement of how they'd treated me. Just another request for money, wrapped in guilt and obligation. I deleted it without responding. The very same day, a text came in from Donna. I know you're mad at Mom and Dad, but please remember your nieces have nothing to do with this. They miss their dance classes and keep asking when Aunt Lily will visit again. Don't punish innocent children for adult problems. I threw my phone across the couch. The manipulation was so obvious it was almost laughable, using the kids to get to me, a classic Donna move. I picked up my phone and blocked her number too. A week later, my Aunt Carol called. I almost didn't answer, but she was the only one who'd stood up for me at the anniversary disaster. Lillian, thank God you picked up, I've been trying to reach you. Hi, Aunt Carol, I kept my voice neutral, what's going on? It's your parents, the bank sent them a final warning about the mortgage. They've had to put the country house up for sale. Donna's furious with them. She's not speaking to them anymore because they promised her that house. Your father's gone back to his old job. Your mother's working full-time now too. Good for them, it's about time they supported themselves. Aunt Carol sighed, Lillian, I understand why you're angry. What they did, the photos, uninviting you, it was terrible, but they're still your parents. No, Aunt Carol, they're just people who happened to raise me. And now they, and my siblings, only see me as a source of income, that's not family. So you're really done with them, just like that? I thought about the years of payments. The lack of gratitude, the instant abandonment when I finally said no. They were done with me first, I replied, I'm just accepting their decision. And what about your brother and sister? Same story, different verses. Donna only calls when she needs money, Richard never calls at all unless it's an emergency that requires my credit card. Aunt Carol was quiet for a moment. I never realized how much you were doing for everyone, I'm sorry, Lillian. It was the first genuine apology I'd received from anyone in the family. Thanks, Aunt Carol, that means a lot. After we hung up, I sat thinking about everything that had happened. The anniversary party seemed like years ago now, not just a couple of months. And strangely, I felt lighter, unburdened. I'm not sure what made me start looking at motorhomes that night. Maybe it was some weird way of understanding what my parents had asked for. Maybe it was curiosity about what $70,000 of recreational vehicle actually looked like. But the more I browsed, the more intrigued I became. You know what, I said aloud to my empty apartment, this actually is a great idea. Not buying one for my parents, of course, buying one for myself. I had the money I was no longer spending on my family's various financial crises. I had vacation time saved up. I had friends who were always talking about wanting to go on road trips. I spent the next few days researching models, reading reviews, watching YouTube videos of people who lived in their RVs full-time. I even drove to a dealership after work one day just to look around. First-timer? Asked the salesman who approached me in the lot. I nodded, just exploring my options. Any particular features you're looking for? I thought about it, something comfortable for long trips. Good for maybe 4 adults, not too complicated to drive. He showed me several models, explaining the differences between Class A, B, and C motorhomes. I found myself drawn to a Class C, not the biggest option, but spacious enough inside with a separate bedroom, a decent kitchen, and a dining area that converted to another bed. This one's actually on sale, the salesman said, end of season clearance. The price tag was still eye-watering, but less than what I'd feared. And honestly, less than what I'd spent bailing out my family over the years. I'll think about it, I told him, taking his card. That night, I called my friend Jess. So I'm thinking about buying a motorhome, I said when she answered. I was thinking maybe next summer we could take a road trip. You, me, maybe Maya and Sophia if they're interested. Are you serious? That would be amazing. Jess sounded genuinely excited, but isn't that a huge purchase? Yeah, but, I hesitated, then decided to tell her the whole story. My parents' request, the uninvitation, the doctored photos, the restaurant confrontation, the emails asking for money again. Jesus, Lil, that's insane. Jess was quiet for a moment. So the motorhome is what, revenge? I thought about it, not exactly, more like, reclaiming something for myself. They wanted me to spend all that money on them. Instead, I'm going to spend it on something I want, something that will bring me joy. 2 weeks later, I signed the papers. The dealer threw in a starter kit of supplies and gave me a comprehensive walkthrough of all the systems. I drove it off the lot feeling terrified and exhilarated all at once. Parking it was a nightmare. I had to rent a space at a storage facility across town, but just knowing it was mine gave me a thrill. I spent weekends cleaning it, decorating it, making it feel like home. Jess, Maya, and Sophia were all in for the road trip. We started planning our route, plotting stops at national parks, quirky roadside attractions, small towns with supposedly great food. We should do this over the 4th of July, Maya suggested during one of our planning sessions, take a full 2 weeks. Perfect, I agreed, I'll put in for the time off tomorrow. Life felt good, better than it had in years, actually. Without the constant drain of my family's needs, I was saving more, stressing less. I'd started taking a pottery class on Wednesday nights. Joined a hiking group that met on Saturdays, applied for a promotion at work and got it. It was like I'd been carrying this invisible weight for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like not to have it pressing down on me. 6 months after buying the motorhome, which I'd named Freedom in a moment of perhaps too obvious symbolism, I finally took a photo of myself standing proudly beside it. I posted it on Instagram with the caption, "New addition to the family, can't wait for summer adventures." I wasn't friends with my parents or siblings on social media anymore, but I knew how these things worked. Someone would show them, the news would get back to them. Sure enough, 3 days later, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Saw your RV post, Mom's having a fit, classic, Richard." So he'd gotten a new phone, or was using someone else's. Either way, I didn't respond. Another week passed, and an email arrived from my mother. "I see you had money for a motorhome after all. Just not for your parents who sacrificed everything for you. I hope you're happy with your selfish choices." I deleted it without responding, but I did take a screenshot first, just to remind myself that I'd made the right decision in cutting them off. The months flew by, spring turned to summer, our road trip plans solidified. Jess designed matching t-shirts for us to wear. Sophia, a photographer, bought a new lens specifically for landscape shots. Maya, always the organizer, created a detailed itinerary with alternatives for bad weather days. The night before we were set to leave, I got a call from Aunt Carol. "Just wanted to wish you a happy trip," she said. "Your mom mentioned you bought an RV." Of course she had, thanks, Aunt Carol, we're pretty excited. "It looks beautiful from the pictures, you deserve it, Lillian." I felt my throat tighten unexpectedly, that means a lot. "And for what it's worth, your parents are doing okay. They sold the country house, paid off some of their debt, they're managing." "I'm glad," I said, and was surprised to realize I meant it. I didn't want them to suffer, I just didn't want to be their financial solution anymore. Donna's still not speaking to them over the house, and Carol added, but Richard's been helping out a bit. Good for him, I hoped he wasn't just repeating my mistakes. Anyway, have a wonderful trip, send me pictures if you think of it. I will, I promised, thanks for checking in. The next morning, my friends arrived bright and early, loaded down with luggage and snacks and playlists for the drive. Ready for this? Jess asked as we did a final check of the RV systems. I looked at Freedom, decorated with string lights and filled with my favorite people. In a few hours, we'd be on the open road, no plan except to enjoy each other's company and see beautiful places. More than ready, I replied, climbing into the driver's seat. As we pulled away from my apartment building, I felt something settle inside me. A kind of peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. Maybe someday I'd reconcile with my family. Maybe we'd find a way back to each other that wasn't based on financial obligation, or maybe we wouldn't. Either way, I was moving forward, creating a life that was truly mine.